So what kind of implications are there in the future? You know, what does this mean for the future of appliances? What can we look forward to see happening as we go along? Well, one of the key things, if we look at trends that are really happening out there in the marketplace, you know, it's obvious that WAN networks, you know, whether we're talking about high-speed cellular networks, or talking about Wi-Fi or WiMAX, this is a key trend. And, you know, how could this play out in an appliance realm? Well, you know, we've got some email appliances, right? Sort of the BlackBerry's kind of an email appliance. This primary role of this, the reason it's got a keyboard on it, is for email. You've got, if you think about it, you know, music in the sky kind of product, where you could say, okay, I'm not going to have to buy all the music I want, but if I could listen to a song or a playlist anytime I wanted without actually, and, you know, pay a little fee for that without actually buying the music and downloading it, owning it. I mean, who cares if I own it as long as I could listen to it whenever I want? But that'd be a very different product. I mean, this is an audio-only product. It could be a tiny little product with almost no display, and it's got a, you know, and you hook some headphones up to it, and that's it, running on an audio network. Whereas this has got to have a nice display so you can read the email and a keyboard. You know, you could design those to be very, you would need to design those to be very different products. How about photos? You know, everybody's got digital photos now. If you could have access to those photos anytime, anywhere, you don't need to print them out. You could always show them. Other people that you show them to could have access to them. Well, that'd be a different kind of product too. You need a nice display on that so you can, you know, get a good quality picture. Probably a better display than you've got on this, where you're just doing primarily text. And this one, where you have all you need to really see is the, you know, the name of the song. And you can have something where, you know, the bottom line here is probably everything's going to be connected. So it's not obvious that you've got one product that's a phone that's going to be able to do all this, because if you put a giant display in it and the audio, you know, and the keyboard, you probably wind up with something that's maybe it's not such a great phone, whereas each of these individually could be really great at doing the thing that you want to do. The other key trend that's happening, in addition to the high-speed networks that'll be everywhere, is storage. And I think a good example of this is really what's happened with optical. And you could say, well, you know, how come we don't have optical servers in our house that's got, you know, a jukebox kind of thing, and I can listen to my CDs, and I put all my DVD discs in there, and I can access it from all around the house. And, you know, what's happened is, as I mentioned, you know, I got 16 optical drives. It turns out, you know, people like convenient stuff. They, you know, all that networking stuff's pretty hard. It's a lot easier for me to just buy a CD player that goes in my car, and I take my CD with me, and I want to listen to the car. I put it in the CD player. You know, that was pretty easy. Looking forward, I think we can imagine that pretty much everything could have hard drives in it. I mean, the concept of having this one giant server, I mean, with the exception maybe of movies, which take up a lot of space, I mean, it's pretty hard to fill up 40 gigabytes of space. You know, unless you got music. I mean, I don't know, most people, even music, which takes up a lot of space, the typical music collection is like under 4 gigabytes in size, which is why I don't think it's a coincidence that the, you know, mini iPod is like 4 gigabytes. Most people, probably not the people in this room, but most people don't have that much music, and they digitize it all. They got less than 4 gigabytes. So if you had an inexpensive 20 or 40 gigabyte hard drive, I mean, you could carry pretty much everything you wanted to have with you. And if the price came down, I mean, why, you don't need one big one. You probably want to have 14 or 20 little 40 gigabyte hard drives. The question there is, you know, how are you going to keep everything in sync? You know, so you don't have to always copy it around. So I think there's an opportunity in the future. If you go with the appliance approach, you say, well, we're going to have different kinds of appliances here, and maybe each of these is also going to have a hard drive in it to hold all my stuff, then how am I going to keep everything in sync is the question that you're left with. So the real question is, you know, if we don't keep everything in sync, you know, you can wind up here as kind of roadkill on the information superhighway. That might be an information side street over here, but you know, the question as you move forward is, you know, is it going to be a convergence device? Is it going to be an appliance? If it looks like the appliance approach, you know, how do you keep all your information in sync.